Doubles and coffee. Stuart Richard Young, the selected Prime Minister of the PNM for this country, who talks on a platform before the retired ex-PNM Prime Minister, who is still political leader of the party in an election to elect Stuart Richard Young as Prime Minister, I can't say it, as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. In the quiz, said that he checked before he came on stage, and that the latest offer to Labour is 1%, 1%, 3%, totaling 5% for the period 2022 to 2024, and that was the maximum that the government could do without bankrupting the country. Y'all think I'm joking? Kamla Prasad Bisasa, the PSA, the OWTU, the SWTU, all workers, postal workers, port workers, all workers in Trinidad and Tobago have understood that the PNM has disrespected Labour for 10 years. Now, Stuart Richard Young, on hearing Kamla's plan, the PSA plan, the Leroy Batiste plan, the Miss Thomas plan, the OWTU, to respect Labour and give workers what they deserve so they could survive, thrive, and take care of their families. Stuart Richard Young campaign is listen to Kamla and try to respond. There's one problem. Kamla has been intelligent her entire life. Kamla worked hard, came from poverty. Her parents were sharecroppers, seamstress, laborers. She worked hard and topped her class at primary school, secondary school, A-levels, university, masters. As a lawyer, she was absolutely brilliant. The woman is intelligent. Stuart Richard Young was, Daddy do this for me, Daddy tie my shoes, Daddy pull my socks, Daddy keep me out of trouble, Daddy give me a car to drive to school, Daddy get me in school, Daddy keep me in school, Daddy let me bully people, batter them and abuse them, and I get praise and stay. Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. So there's a big problem. Stuart Richard Young lacks the intellectual capacity to be Prime Minister. That is why Rowley come off the golf course. I thought Rowley going to retire. Rowley talking on PNM platform after Stuart Richard Young. But y'all don't believe that I saw and heard Stuart Richard Young say that. So at this juncture, take a little listen, because I want you all to hear this buffoon, this clown, this selected elitist fake Prime Minister selected by Rowley to oppress the PNM. But he will not be allowed to oppress Trinidad and Tobago, because on the 28th, we will never have to say again that Stuart Richard Young was, can't even say it, was Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Listen to this complete dance. This is what you don't want your children to do. Children, stay in school, read your books, study hard, listen to your parents who tell you do your work, or else you'll end up like this.
The UNC starting offer is 10%. Well, I want to tell the public servants of Trinidad and Tobago today, the policemen, the fire service, the teachers, and all of the public servants, that the government, this government, has offered you, and I confirmed it on my way here this evening. You have been offered 5%. 5% at 1%, 1%, and 3% for that period that they're talking about.
Now, first and foremost, Stuart Richard Young, I don't know what you think about the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, and especially the workers of Trinidad and Tobago. All of a sudden, after 9.5 years, they come with 1, and then it jump up to 3%? Really? Incredible in an election year? But that 5%, you said that 5% is the maximum, and it will bankrupt the country if you go higher. First and foremost, Stuart Richard Young, you have been the Gary Sobers in a government that has bankrupted Trinidad and Tobago already. You've taken our debt to GDP ratio at a peak just after COVID up to 97%. It now stands at some 84%. Our bill to be paid back by people over the next generations. Our debt is at a staggering $145 billion. In 9.5 years, your government doubled our total national debt. From 1962 to 2015, the debt was approximately $72 billion to be paid back. Y'all in 9.5 years took it from $72 billion to $145 billion. Stuart Richard Young, you bankrupted this economy before COVID, during COVID, and after COVID. You shrunk 𝐭𝐫𝐞𝐚𝐬𝐮 economy. 𝐭𝐫𝐞𝐚𝐬𝐮 had the total GDP of this country up at $185 billion. It now stands at $158 billion. That means you shrunk the economy. Honey, I shrunk the economy. You bankrupted the energy sector. NGC made a loss for the first time. The NIF that you're boasting about, people lost their savings. The NEL over the last 2 years has lost over $1.8 billion in asset value. There is no refinery. Point Lisa is operating at 28%. The tax take for the government from the energy sector is down. There's been no diversification. The non-oil, non-energy sector is decimated. Manufacturing is shutting down because the ease of doing business has dropped dramatically. In 2015, under 𝐭𝐫𝐞𝐚𝐬𝐮, we were 65th in the world. When they stopped doing that index in 2022, we all had dropped us to 105th in the world. The economy has been decimated. Revenue streams have been decimated. No agricultural policy. Tourism product down. You're saying that UNC ran Sandals. Sandals was never putting 1 red cent into Tobago or into tourism. You have run this economy into the ground. We are bankrupt. People could only get $100 from your daddy's former bank, Scotiabank, on their credit cards. In 2017, those same credit cards had a limit of $10,000. It's down now to $100. That is you. So first and foremost, Stuart Richard Young, you have already bankrupted the economy. 𝐭𝐫𝐞𝐚𝐬𝐮 left $12.25 billion in reserves, 14.5 months import cover. You have dropped that down now to a paltry $7.6 billion or 7.5 months import cover. 𝐭𝐫𝐞𝐚𝐬𝐮 left $6.8 billion in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. It is now at the same level 10 years later, when every year it should have increased by at least 1.4 to 1.6 billion. Foreign exchange is non-existent. People have to buy US on the black market. So you have already devalued the dollar in the black market to 1 US to 10 TT because people cannot get it. Only your friends and financiers could access the foreign exchange. Our economy is shattered. Over 60,000 jobs have been lost under your stewardship. Over 6,000 small and micro enterprises have gone out of business before COVID, during COVID, and after COVID. On the avenue and areas of business, more businesses are shut down. You can see for alquiler, rent, for sale. People are packing up to move. There's capital flight from Trinidad and Tobago. Foreign direct investment has been negative for the last 3 years, meaning that companies are taking their money elsewhere to invest. They're looking away from Trinidad and Tobago because of the PNM. So the fact of the matter is, Stuart Richard Young, you are Rowley's Gary Sobers. There is no new chapter. Your chapter is a nightmare in a Stephen King novel. You have bankrupted the country because your government is incompetent. They do not understand. They have no plans and policies to diversify, to increase revenue streams. Second point, Stuart Richard Young, If you're saying that 5% for workers who work hard and build this country is the maximum, if you go up above that, you will bankrupt the country. Tell me one thing, Stuart Young. If that were true, how come your government accepted for you a 47% increase as Prime Minister? That wouldn't bankrupt the economy. That wouldn't give a knock-on effect to the highest levels of the public sector and so on. At 47, all of the elites, that would not increase the wage bill and bankrupt the economy. 113% will bankrupt the economy, but 47% to you would not bankrupt the economy. Over $4 billion in loans to put for people to pay off from your brother's company that he is the CEO of at an average of 6.24%. That wouldn't bankrupt the economy. How come your brother's company between 2015 and now has been able to beat major financial institutions with greater asset bases, greater history, track record, and so on, with greater economies of scale? How come your brother's company that he's the CEO of, not just an employee, CEO's pay packages include performance bonuses? So when he gets money from your government that you were the Gary Sobers of, your brother remuneration package goes up when he increases the work. So if he gets $4 billion per year or in 4 years from the government of Trinidad and Tobago, he will get bonuses. So don't try to pretend to us that he's a mere employee. But how was his small little rat's tail company able to outbid, outperform, give lower interest rates and compete in an open tender for work? Beat Republic Bank, beat RBC, beat Full Citizens Bank, beat these major financial institutions that have such a diversified portfolio and wide asset base that they could offer lower interest rates because they could make profits, greater profits because of the economies of scale. How that work out? It's just lucky that you were the minister. So you are saying to the people, the voters, the citizens, that 113% will bankrupt Trinidad and Tobago, but your 47% increase is okay. It's fantastic. The country can handle it. And when you get voted out on April 29th, after the 28th, and you are no longer I just cannot say it, because I cannot believe that someone so incompetent with such a low track record of success, someone who was average, below average, nothing spectacular, no great achievement, could ever be Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. I can't get the words out. That you are saying that after 6 weeks work, your value is $90,000 a month for the rest of your life, and the workers cannot get 113% now after you offer them for 9.5 years 001 01 001 01. That's what you're telling workers. Stuart Richard Young, let me tell you something. The only thing that you're correct with is if the PNM remains there, and if people put God out their thoughts and vote for this nonsense, this word, cuss word is read, this new chapter that is Rowley's old, disgusting, pathological chapter, and that you and Rowley are mini-me and maxi-me. If people take God out their thought and vote for any other reason other than great policy for care, for Kamala who cares for the resources to be returned to the people, if that happens, then the country will be bankrupt, because under your brain, your watch, your policies, there is no hope for increased revenue streams. There is no hope for the energy sector. You put all our eggs in the dragon basket, and the dragon basket has ripped open and busted. So if the PNM government remains, then the country will continue to be bankrupt. It will go worse. We will go into a state of failed nation status, because the PNM, Stuart Richard Young, your PNM, Stuart Richard Young, your PNM, Keith Christopher Rowley, has shown that you have no ability to diversify the economy, increase revenue streams, incentivize energy upstreamers to do work in our national waters to bring revenue, to go downstream, to refine products, to create an agricultural policy, to create a technology universe where our children can generate jobs, to move into sport and tourism and sport tourism, to take carnival. Imagine you all broke carnival. Carnival is something that inside are we natural to we, just like the energy sector, and the PNM shattered it, and the revenue streams are flailing and flopping. So you are correct. If the people leave the PNM, our country that is bankrupt now will continue down that slope into total annihilation. But when the people get together and vote UNC on April 28th, everyone would win, because Kamala has plans to diversify. Kamala has plans to rejuvenate the energy sector through the refinery, through better gas negotiation with upstreamers, bringing back NGC to profitability, raising the portfolio of the NIF, the NEL, and so on, bringing money back into the country, getting together with Guyana and Suriname, forming partnerships, working with the USA, the Canada, and the European Union to diversify, working with the manufacturing sector and incentivizing them, the energy sector and the upstreamers to find more gas, to create a greater horizon in the Ryder Scott report, to move into sport tourism, medical tourism, to bring back Trinidad and Tobago, to make Trinidad and Tobago safer by protecting our borders, giving the police the correct technology, tools, and remuneration to fight crime, to make our country safer so that people will feel comfortable to come here and work and invest, to make sure that Trinidad and Tobago becomes an attractive area. You have decimated Trinidad and Tobago, and when you go, Trinidad and Tobago will rise. So yes, Stuart Young, PNM has bankrupted Trinidad and Tobago. The people are tired of being bankrupted and poor and broken and abused. And on the 28th, they will vote for intelligence, creativity, and a cabinet of brain and merit, not a cabinet of dunces who can't pass maths and fail 6 out of 7 subjects at O level, and daddy had to keep them in the school after they bully and batter and beat a brighter boy till he had no choice but to retaliate. On April 28th, the country will breathe a sigh of relief. Intelligence would return, and labor could get 10%, because there will be greater revenue streams. Dum Stuart Richard Young, you don't understand. You should have studied in school instead of beating up little boys.
On election day, vote UNC. One love, one team, one hope.